me. Well, now I know. I've never seen a movie this bad. I mean, this is shocking. And we've all seen some bad movies.
I think it's fair to say that Madam Web is getting pounced by the critic. Critics are often wrong, and audiences are often wrong, but this is a rare convergence where almost no one is saying anything good about Madam Web. And whether they're very big YouTube channels or very small ones,
4 credited writers, who include director S.J. Clarkson, aren't able to make a compelling addition to the Spider-Verse. Like so many films of its ilk, it teases the movie fans actually want to see, which is a full-on Spider-Woman team-up film.
So I will try to be non-spoiler, but I will give the basic survey about what happened with Madam Web and what went wrong. The basic gist is apparently Madam Web is trying to save 3 other girls who will have spider powers, but they're being hunted by a bad or dark Spider-Man, and it's just very clunky, boring, a few committed performances, but really, there's really nothing here. It is just extremely, extremely weak film. And I will let Dan Murrell take over.
That do make an appearance in this movie, but at the same time, it doesn't really seem important to the overall narrative. It's like Sony gave Madam Web a directive to make this movie both essential to Spider-Man's storyline and completely superfluous to it. And I guess it's probably obvious why. They don't know if the movie's going to work, so they don't want to make an integral piece of the puzzle to the character in case audiences reject it. But it's still a very odd half measure.
They spent $100 million, but they stretched their dollars, you'll got to give them that, but even in terms of the costumes, special effects, just from the trailer, it just looks kind of trashy. I do think it's nice that they actually used New York, because too many times they don't even bother to use New York as a location. So some places look recognizably like New York, and Spider-Man is really tied to New York. I grew up in the East Coast of the US, and just reading the comics, it felt very, very authentic that this is a hero, as fantastic as it was, that could exist in a real environment. So I'll give them a lot of points there. That felt very, very strong. But again, there's not much to this story, and apparently they're going to cut this off from the rest of the Sonyverse. So unless this makes bazillions of dollars, they're not really going to move with the story. So if you want a very, very clunky, boring Spider-Man film that does not have Spider-Man, and I guess just laugh at the film, because it is very, very laughable. Almost everything's laughable about it. The plot, the characters, really no vision. It's just a very corporate, very cluttered, clunky, it's just a complete mess. And the only question now is this worse than Morbius? And I don't even hate Morbius as much as other people, but I would have to say, yeah, this is probably a lot worse than Morbius, because at least with Morbius, I felt the Easter eggs were sincere. But here, I don't feel almost anything is redeemable about this film.
Same freaking location. The whole movie seems like a bad CW show, which makes sense because get this is the first feature directed by S.J. Clarkson, who comes from a background in television shows and streaming shows. Now, some directors who come from streaming are excellent. There are some streaming directors that we just can't wait to make the leap to feature films. But S.J. Clarkson, unfortunately, ain't one of them.
So I will probably disagree with many people that the Venom films are at least very, very fun. I actually don't agree with that. I think they're still pretty horrible. But at least there, they destroyed a character I really like. With Madam Web, I really don't care. The only character here I really sort of care about is the Spider-Woman character. And at least they got the costume right there. And you can't deny it, Sydney Sweeney is very, very beautiful. So at least they got that part right. That's about it. There's really nothing here to defend. It's just what it is. It's a very corporate product. It's being cynically just put out there. And if you're not a hardcore Spider-Man fan, you may be tempted to pay for this saying, ooh, are we going to get a little great cameo or something? Probably not. And it's so bad. They don't apparently even have a post-credit scenes, which now is in almost every single film having to do with comics. So yeah, they just kind of given up on this. Presumably it will make, I think, okay money because it is, quote, fun and entertaining for what it is. But you really can't take this thing serious at all. I will look at more reviews, but at this point, overwhelmingly, critics don't like this, fans don't like this, but maybe we'll find an audience who just enjoys looking at really cheap junk. And that's all we have with Madam Web.